a car, I think, or a truck. But other than that, it was basically living a natural way of life, and they went back to basics. His son only goes to school once a week because his father thinks he can learn more from nature than from going to school. And they said they develop a real sense of community, and these eco villagers help each other out. Like they build houses for any newcomers, etc. And there was a man who lived in an eco village in the US. He came to visit, and he talked about how he thought urbanization, he saw it as a cancer to the earth. And he just talked about his experience as well. And they all said that they can make a life for themselves without having to depend on the state. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That was, yeah, really great. Okay. Thank you. Very thorough. Okay. Sorry. Did someone volunteer for the second one? Because now I don't have enough of the chat to know whether someone said anything when I logged out. So, Carolina, you volunteered for the third. Do we have anyone for the second one? All right, then I will just choose. How about Christopher? You want to do the third one or the second one?
Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So from the second video, it was very similar to the first,
Yeah.
as it was talking about like the villages outside Moscow and how their life has been impacted by this new change of way of life, and it talks about how this will affect like the future of the earth, how this change from city life to these smaller villages will positively impact the future of the earth. And it's important for our children to be exposed to this way of life because well, it's important for them to live long healthy lives as well.
Thank
And
you.
that's it.
Yeah, that's right. Great. Okay, and then Carolina, please tell us what was said. So I don't think I can't hear you. Is that the same for everyone? No, I don't know. Okay, so you guys can hear. Or what? Who's rejoining? Is I Okay, Caroline is rejoining. All right. Ah, oh my God. Christopher, you need to be working double time. We need two signs, like names right away, like smack on the poster. You go, you stay. Um, you've got to be working up that muscle. Like, days are going and you should be getting better and better at this.
Can you hear me now?
Uh-huh. Yes.
All right. So the third video, it begins with like an introduction of how the Industrial Revolution is like impacted us. So it's causing the destruction of the earth. He begins by saying it, and that we have to go back to like our rural areas. So the video is about a farm in North Carolina, where it's like completely sustainable. So everything's organic. They make energy with a wind turbine and solar energy, and like the farmer says that they actually have almost the same amount of the American household has. And then like everything's built naturally, and his kids are happy there. There's a lot of life. Then we're introduced to one of the farmers, so you can volunteer to work there as like a young person. And one of the farmers is introduced in the video, and she takes us like a tour around the farm. So she talks about how she sees that people should embrace rural areas, and that we should live there, and how she would like to be a farmer when she grows up. And then she shows us around like the pigs and the goats and the farm, and she says that she feels a true connectivity to these animals. Like she feels sad when she eats them because, well, she knows where they came from, and she knows that there's been a lot of love raising them. And then we see like a house that 2 other volunteers have just built, and it's completely made out of clay and natural materials, which shows that we can really like build everything by ourselves. And they're gonna live there now. And she talks about how it's ventilated and there's like grass on top of the roof so that there's not much heat and it can be cool. And then it finishes with the farmer just saying how this is a great way of life, and that if we start transitioning away from like urban areas aren't so dependent on us, and there's more of these rural areas like this, it would help us transition from this oil community that we have in Industrial Revolution.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, Lily and fellow fellow Chinese friends, did you guys? Yeah. So you heard everything, right? That they said. So that was a really good summation of everything. Um, so before you guys go in order, I want to say that so the example I wanted to give examples that are not just in America and in America. So first of all, so this is never great. So this is never shown on the news, just so you know, right? So that part you know. Um, there are so many people leaving city life. Of all professions, it doesn't matter what race you are, what age you are. It's like a point that you reach when you know enough that you can't keep going the way you're going. And that's happening all over the world. Russia is the biggest country in the world, and there are let's see, there was I think 500,000 families um, living this way in already fully built. They've built their own homes and villages, and there is an eco village in every region of Russia. You can imagine how many regions that is. So, so I just want, so this is maybe a new thing for you, but I want this to become, with time, an understanding that it's not abstract, that this is another reality that's occurring in parallel with the reality that we are living where we are. And so if you guys just find, for example, online, if you find, um, you know, villages that, or people who choose to live this way, who go back to the land in some way, I guarantee you will find it in your country, and I strongly can bet that you will find it not very far from where you live. So believe it or not, if you look, so I want to hear tomorrow, after you do your research, I want to hear where these types of areas are from you geographically. So you're going to have to take a look. And this topic will continue also. We'll continue into it tomorrow as well. So this is something very new. It can be a very big concept to tackle, and a lot of prejudices often come up when you see this, and you'll notice that. So any kind of funny feelings or like any kind of judgment that comes up, suspend it for a sec and try to look at it from the other side, and you'll notice that it's it's like very um, very smartly evolved kind of feelings of fear and disbelief that this is possible based on the society that we live in. And so that's a natural response. And so I don't want to overwhelm you with this, but I want you to start feeling about it, and you've got your whole lives ahead of you to maybe, to see that this is something that can free you completely, this at least this attitude, if not this change. So that's all I want to say. about it, that this is going on and it's not reported, and it's more than you can possibly realize. Because um, once you reach that point of no return, um, inside of you, you have nothing to prove to anybody else. Okay. And when you reach that, that's kind of when you start living a different way. And when that happens, it's the more the wiser you are, the less you talk. Have you noticed that? Like the wise men and women, um they really speak very little. And so that's why that's another reason of why we don't see this. Because once people make that change, they know it beyond question and they're fulfilled. There's nothing else that they need outside of themselves. They create their own world. And so that's why no one's yelling about it from the rooftops, because it's like a different civilization, because the consciousness has awakened, and kind of the thought processes have started to shift. So that's all I want to say. So let's go. Um, let's start. Let's start from the bottom. Let's start with Ji Young and then work our way up the list. And I know you guys only have the paraphrasing, but still, please voice your thoughts. Okay. Ji Young, we can hear you typing, so you can try speaking. Ah, okay. I see. So then, yeah, Shijuan, you want to help? You want to help him out? Yes, yes, please. Sure, you can speak at the very end. Just remind us, okay? So go ahead, Shijuan. And we can't hear you. I can't hear you as of now, but you may be typing, I'm assuming. No. Ah, Christopher, he's got a little card. It's a yellow card. Is that like a soccer thing? Or is that the rejoin? Ah. I thought you wrote something on it. That's why yeah, and it needs to be neon pink. So we've already established the colors. Christopher. Yes. Okay. Okay. Pink is professor rejoin. Okay. Got it. And then student rejoin is orange. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's make it happen. Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Now it works, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Christopher. All right. Actually, I think the three conditions that is shown in the three videos are quite similar. So I just take the third one example because I know better about that one, and I found that all those I can call them isolated systems have their own source of energy, some like wind or solar energies, and so that they do not need any fossil fuels or some electricity. All right, they may need electricity, but they grow their vegetables, plants, and they have their own animals. And I pay attention to the girl said, actually the women, in the third video that they do their work with love, but not just they're not doing it on purpose, but they are trying to change their lifestyle, and they're treating their works with emotion. And I paid attention to a detail that as she goes to the goats, actually the goats come to her, and that is a meaning of trust, because I have many pets and I know what that means. And really interesting. And actually, I did a search on the internet, and I found that there are many examples of those types of lifestyles in Beijing, and I found it really interesting. Um, and yeah, that's all. Maybe.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great for having only seen and not heard. That was wonderful. All right, I think Ricky is next. Yay. Yeah, that's card. Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Ricky, I hope he didn't fall asleep because he was like on the bed. It seemed like he was snoozing under the covers. So I'm assuming you're really sick, Ricky.
I was not asleep, no worries. I was just relaxing.
Got it. And so as you relax, can you tell us, are you able to type as well? Because I didn't really see you in the conversation, if I'm not mistaken. Your hands didn't seem to reach that far to your computer.
Or am I muted?
So you're cutting in and out. So please start over. And for some reason, I'm echoing in the background of your video.
Something must be up. Okay. All right, 1 second. Let me try something. Now, can you hear me talking at all?
Yes, now it's good.
Okay, so all better?
I think
Let me
so.
try chatting. Okay, good.
No, I think you can talk.
Okay. So, what was I going to say? I was born in New York, and I lived there until I was a few years old. We moved away into the suburbs when I was kind of young, so I lived in the suburbs a majority of my life. Then we moved down to Virginia when I was about in 4th grade. But whenever I go back to visit New York, I am kind of astounded at least what I consider to be not exactly the nicest living conditions, not necessarily bad place to live because there's a lot of things to do. The skyscrapers are giant and it's very impressive. Lots of shops, lots of everything. It's the center of the world. But skyscrapers can't really compare to the natural beauty that trees, flowers, grass provides, and there's so little of it in big cities that I can kind of empathize with all the people who want to join those eco villages. Whenever I go back to New York, I'm struck by the, I wouldn't call it deplorability, but the almost ugliness of things in the big city. It's much, much nicer to live out in the suburbs, or even better, living in rural areas, rural communities where it's really beautiful and nature, and you get to be self-sufficient and not be surrounded by all the smog and the cars and the constant traffic and the giant buildings and the dirt. It's just much nicer. As for that farmer girl's point about how she likes her animals to be raised by her, then killed, then eaten so she knows where it comes from, I found that part to be one of the few parts of eco villages that might be a little bit distasteful to me. I would generally not enjoy eating an animal that I raised its whole life. Seems a little bit not nice. But other than that, the eco village lifestyle is something that appeals to me probably much more than living in a big city.
Done, Ricky? Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So for the videos, I really admired everyone's courage in general and just going against the status quo of like what society tells us to do. And I really like admired that the people in Russia weren't doing it just for themselves and for their own well-being, but because they wanted their children to live better lives and to be able, like the man said, to like run in the field and know what that's like. And for the third video, I really thought that the girl had like an interesting mindset on life, and I thought it was interesting that she was like, "Oh, I really want to be a farmer," because like we don't hear that a lot nowadays, unless like your family has been in the farming industry for a while, because like that's just not what society tells us that is important and whatnot. So I think that that mindset is really good, and I really admire everyone who like decided to take that step in their life and not just go with the status quo.
Thank you. All right, so Saad posted. Yes, go ahead, Lily.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Okay. Um, Actually, I'm quite impressed by the videos because my parents are living in a small village and I often visit them occasionally. And actually, I have many thoughts about organic life or eco village. And I think it's really good for them to choose to live outside the city and take full use of natural resources like wind or solar energy. And I think living out of city doesn't mean um, live in a giant house in the suburb and drive cars to the city to work and at everything, because I know there are a lot of rich people in my city. They think the air condition in the city is not so good, so they choose to move outside the city and buy a giant big house. And also, I think it's not the way eco village means. And I also have some different ideas with what Dr. Oster just mentioned before. She says that wise people don't say a lot, but I think it should not be the way, because if if some people have a better lifestyle, they should let others know. If Dr. Oster didn't show us the video, maybe we will not know that there's better lifestyle than most people have now. So I think even though wise people, I think many people should let their voice be heard by the others so that others can make changes, and all the efforts made by the individuals will actually lead to the great change of the entire world. Yeah, I think that's all.
Can everyone hear me? Oh, all right. So I enjoyed all three of the videos. I thought they were very interesting. I guess I've got two things to talk about. First of all, I was really impressed with just how independent all the people in those videos were. As you can see, they were all building homes out of wood and clay, and they all grew their own food. I think today a lot of people have lost the ability to be independent. We're all really dependent on the system, and considering that, our oil's about to run out and that system's going to break pretty soon, I guess we should all start trying to become more independent. And a second thing to note, I noticed that a lot of people in those villages were actually pretty happy. So I guess it's not, a miserable lifestyle. It's actually a possible option. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. So about the first and the second video, I was really
Cristobal, do you
amazed.
mind talking a little bit louder or closer to the mic?
To the mic like this.
Yeah, or speak a little louder. It's a little faint, maybe.
Now is it okay?
I'm making my sound louder, so it's good. Go for it.
Okay, so about the first and the second video, it was amazing because they have all what we want. I mean, money has less influence in their lives. The children can learn by walking around in nature. They use renewable energies, and they even have the internet. So everything seems to be perfect. And also, as said Ivan, they seem to be really happy and positive. So, for example, they don't need to protect against a burglar because they have some different values of share. So that's the kind of world where we all want to live. And I don't remember which video, but a woman said, I know it's going to be difficult to move from the city and another life, but I really want this experience for my children. So that's a really wise choice, because these people want to offer a better future to their children, and that's the way to do it. And about the third video, it's really interesting how much this kind of farm can produce. So they produce energy, they produce good and organic food, and an high quality of living for the inhabitants. And it's also a school for everyone to learn knowledge about the earth and the land. So that's incredible. That's an incredible way to manage the land. And yeah, that's all.
Can you guys hear me? All right. Well, I live in Los Angeles, so it's the second biggest city in like the United States. So it is very urbanized, and just seeing people being able to live off the land for me is something just mind-boggling, because you don't see that here, really. There's no areas where it's just people living off the land. It's just concrete and 3 trees a block. And there are some points that I kind of disagree. Well, there's just one point where I disagree, where I wouldn't want to know the name of what I'm eating, because that just seems kind of awkward for me. I'm like Ricky on that sense. But everything else, it just seems amazing to me how they can live without all these, without electricity. Well, not without it, but minimizing electricity, I should say. They minimize the usage of electricity, water. It's just amazing to me.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So for the first two videos, I thought their devotion to nature was really amazing, building all their houses out of all natural products, and even paying money to bury the lines, the electrical cables, so that you couldn't see them. And I also thought how they built up their sense of community by having the elders teach the younger ones at least one trade, so that you can keep the tradition of doing different trades, like playing that instrument that guy had going. And I guess I can relate to those people a little bit more than like someone in the city would, since I grew up, being able to like harvest my own animals and clean my own deer and cook. And the third video, my favorite parts was whenever he was talking about the wind turbine and solar panel, and how those two things powered the majority of his house. And I had looked into putting up wind turbines before in my yard. Me and my dad wanted to, but there's restrictions in this area, which I don't really understand why there would be. But yeah, I thought that was amazing, creating your own energy off your own resources to what you're available to.
Can you hear me? Okay. So the videos, they amazed me. I admired like their way of living and them going back to nature, because I've only lived in big cities throughout my life. So the first time I heard of the concept of eco villages or moving away from the city, I was really confused at first. Like, that just doesn't seem natural to me. But now, after watching those videos, I suddenly became really interested in that lifestyle. And I know in Singapore there's one village left, because Singapore used to be a fishing village, but now there's only one left. And before watching these videos, I never really gave it much thought. I actually used to think, oh, why don't they want to become urbanized? But now I actually want to visit their village, and I guess if I could talk to them and ask them about their lifestyle. So, yeah.
Right. I really love those videos. They really had a fantastic feel, like going back to the country. I had an uncle which kind of adopted a similar lifestyle. He came from like a regular family, and then he started to work in agro business. And then he saw that like his coworkers, it was all conventional farming, and he saw that his coworkers started to get sick. And then he started to question himself if like conventional farming is right. And I don't know what happened, but he just decided to move to like this, like an eco village like that, and live off the land. And I never really explored this concept because, well, my family always tended to look down at this idea of just moving away from everything. But from these videos, I see that it's actually something really beautiful, you know, like you're in touch with nature, and it's actually a really noble way to live. And it was really nice to see that.
Oh man. So Christopher, what are we gonna do with you when you have to rejoin?
You hear me?
Yes, Callie.
Okay, sorry. I tried to rejoin. My internet's really messed up. Okay, so I found it really interesting in I think it was the second video when they were talking about how they asked every person who came into the village to donate their time to either give their skill and like chop wood or be a blacksmith or something like that, or to teach the children. I thought that was a really good idea, and it would bring communities much closer together if we kind of sourced out all of that stuff within ourselves. Like, I was trying to think of it in terms of where I live, and I was thinking, oh, like my neighbor actually is a blacksmith, and like he works with metal a lot, and so what if he like made all of our metal that we needed, and we have horses, and so what if he made our horseshoes and stuff like that, and like you could do it pretty easily. But and then I also I found it kind of, I don't know, interesting what she was talking about with the pigs, how they raise them and they put so much love into these animals, and then they also use them for food. So that, I don't know, that's hard for me to wrap my head around. I have 14 pets, and I can't imagine like having a pet and then eating it. I had chickens, and my dad kept saying like, that chicken pecks me one more time, we're having fried chicken for dinner, and I would like cry. I couldn't take it. But it is a better alternative though than getting a pig from a farm that, you know, kills them by electrocution and stuff like that. It's awful. And then also, I thought it was really important to notice how inexpensive everything was. It's not like living this way would take a huge toll on how your cost of living or anything like that. It only gets better because you're healthier, you're spending less money, and it's like a simpler way of life, and it's less fast paced, and it just seems more natural. So it was really interesting to me. That's it.
Let's see, did Alex write us? Orange card. No. I don't know. Did Alex leave? If Alex, if you're trying to talk, it's yeah, Christopher has a message for you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, I was born in Ukraine and I lived there for 8 years before, all the stuff started happening there. And what I found is like a lot of people who are like middle class, usually, so they lived in vertical cities like here in LA in urban areas, but then because the land was so cheap in that area, a lot of people had like what we call a dacha. It basically is like a little house, like disconnected, but it's like a place you can we took our friends and like we all went there to hang out in nature, and it's like in forestry, and you can just and like when I moved here in LA, it was just so different. There's like nowhere you can go to escape except like a few suburb areas and like forests like Paramount Ranch, and it's just such a different lifestyle. And I was really surprised and inspired by the people that I saw in the first two videos because like they didn't seem to be living that much different from us. I mean, they had all the modern necessities, the internet, the tech, the transportation of cars, right? But they were still able to survive basically on the resources they had on their own land, like the single hectare of food. Most of the food they were able to go with bees for the flavoring. And the guy even said that he only needed to work 1 day a week to support himself completely, and then he could just dedicate the rest of his life to the land, which was really interesting. It just gives you perspective of how also economically independent you become once you live sustainably on your land. And I was also really fascinated by the house that in the third video they showed off. I thought it was beautiful, actually. It was like really cool looking. And to think that all the materials and all the skill came from like the people living on the land was really impressive. It just, I mean, so if something breaks, you can just repair it. You're not dependent on the specialized skill set of other people to maintain your lifestyle, which was fascinating, in my opinion. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you guys, all of you. So I made little notes as you guys were talking. So I can just quickly mention some points that people brought up. So first off, so for tomorrow, you guys all got that. You're gonna you're gonna take a look at what's available, what's around you that you didn't know, in terms of this way of life, and report back to us. So we'll talk about that. Everyone will get to share. Excuse me. And so the second thing is that you can actually work, and it's some places offer volunteer, like, so you can volunteer or you can get paid, or another way, which is basically for the work you do and the skills you learn, you are provided room and board. So you get fed, and you stay at these, whether it's a ranch, an Eco Village Institute, that's kind of more of like a demonstration farm, or it's also like part of ecotourism, or it's like an actual farm that's big but still uses people's hands for the work that they do. So a lot of people have done this, and they pretty much they loved it so much that it changed them. And so that's actually an option for you guys to keep in mind. Just looking that up is a really incredible thing to do if you want to. So the next thing, so harvesting food, meaning animals. So that's it's such an interesting subject, that I personally have also evolved with. trying to wrap my head around and understanding how this works. How do we eat animals, and how is that, you know, do we really need to? Do we need it for our health, like where we can only receive certain B vitamins from animals? People who are anemic, they need to eat, you know, like animal liver and that sort of thing. And then, of course, there's the ethical side of it and the emotional side of it, and just what do you do there? And so, so something. So I won't offer my ideas because that's a personal journey, but um, but I always when I do eat meat, I always thank my food, and so I feel like that's a really important way to go. And I usually say that it's like a little prayer, and so I say that I hope that in the future, our the other food that we eat will be nutritionally dense enough again, so that our soil won't be depleted, and that won't deplete our food or other food, so that we may not have to eat animals. And so that's kind of, it's always a vision for the future, right? It's always about dreaming a different dream. And then harvesting animals, that's something that you guys will watch when you get here. So I think that will be a really incredible experience. It it's not it's not going to be like a scary movie or anything, but it's going to be a really good thing that you will see. So we'll continue on with that topic. So Alex and Christopher, so you guys are both in LA. So stay tuned for tomorrow, what you're going to see. And I would like to know whether you knew of that little thing we're going to see tomorrow, whether you knew that existed in your backyard. So, and then the idea that things, so the main reasons that people give for not for not being for not choosing that sort of lifestyle that we've seen, and there are many, and they're all valid because it's your life. But one of them, I think, that really is misleading, is that it's so expensive to live this way, right? To like reallocate. But what most of you've already mentioned is that it's actually incredibly cheap to live this way. You need almost nothing to live this way. You just need your hands. It depends what region of the world you're in terms of laws for land. But some regions give land for use for like 100 years, basically. So it's kind of like this really long-term lease, and so you don't need to pay for it if you don't have the money, but you can still build a home, and then some people just get a really small land. Some people have other people subsidize them, and then they kind of, it's more of like a gift. So land is the only thing that is not always a problem to buy, but everything else, you would be amazed. You really don't need anything, because you just need the desire to make it happen, and it does actually happen. You can build your own house, every single one of you, if you've got your hands. That's all you need. So that's one thing. And then the last thing is how some of you guys were really impressed by the types of homes that were built or that you saw. So if you think back just a little bit, if you've experienced this, or seen this, historically, all regions had their own unique building materials, right? All regions of the world. So some had it was, I don't know the terms, like the names of the homes, but some homes were built of dirt, right? And then some were made of stone, some are made of clay and straw, and they fit perfectly the climate. So it's ironic and so amazing that the materials fit the region that you live in, and it's the perfect match for the climate that you're in. So straw and clay is really wonderful because that's usually found in hotter regions, um, and clay is really good at not keeping heat in. So, and then the roof, like you saw, if you have greenery on the roof, then it's more of a reflective surface than an absorbing surface. And then wood, of course. So it just depends, and it's all there for us. It's just waiting, So that's a really awesome thing. And then that's all I had to say. I think people had something else to say. So Shijuan is saying, has a traditional food called man-made meat. That's really that's really scary. I don't even want to know what's in that. And so, yeah. So tomorrow we'll continue this topic. And remember that you have like the add-on assignment, so you can make your diaries a little shorter. But please do this assignment for tomorrow. Yes, and glass bottles to build houses, right? Yeah, and then in America, and I'm sure everywhere else, there are salvage yards. So people throw away things based on whether it's a trend to have things, what's cool, what's not cool, what's considered fancy or not. And if you go to salvage yards, just like you go to like vintage clothing shops, it's the same thing. You can buy incredible things for nothing, that actually are usually always of much better quality because it's not made with toxic chemicals. Like a lot of our furniture that's sold is made with toxic glue and sawdust. So there's really no hardwood there. And then people just throw away all of their hardwood, that sort of thing. So that's really cool, Lily. That's amazing. So some people use oyster shells to build their homes. Yeah, whatever you have, nature is brilliant, and we have so much to learn from it. That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, Jiang, you were skipped. Do you want to go? That's right.
Yes.
I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So since I didn't even watch the video, I may talk about my own thoughts based on your guys' thoughts. So I went to the suburbs of Los Angeles during Thanksgiving break and went to the Boston during the spring break. Boston has more tall buildings and seems more modernized, and Los Angeles seems less crowded and closer to the nature. But I prefer Los Angeles to Boston not only because there are more exciting places such as Hollywood and Disneyland, but also you really feel relaxed when you cannot hear the noise of the cars and you really can play basketball or tennis in the field freely. That's the best way to spend the vacation. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, very, very good points. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Chloe. You had a question, and then we're gonna wrap up the class.
Yeah. For the final paper, if we've already picked a topic, do we need you to approve it first, or do we need to send you a draft or anything?
No. So at this point, I think I mean, I always believe you guys are totally capable. So no, you don't need to run it by me. I have faith in all of you. So 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 please go ahead and write on your own time. There's nothing you need to run by me. What I will tell you is that so the paper is due like Monday, I think, of the final week by that point. And so you will be presenting parts of the paper. So I'm not telling you this to stress you out. I think it'll be more enjoyable, right? Because you get to share it with not just me, but to have other people be inspired by what you have to say. And so what you'll do is you'll present kind of the problem that you chose in short, like all the parts in short, it's going to be a total of 10 minutes you're going to be speaking, and you can, yes, have your paper in front of you. So don't worry. And then mostly you'll be speaking about that vision for the future part. So that's really where, like, the meat should be. No PowerPoints. No. No, you're just going to be standing in front of people and talking. So simple and truthful. No gadgets. And Christian, yeah, so Conscious Diary. So so everything seems fine with everybody. I'm gonna check this weekend to see, what else is new, in terms of, like, but I've already seen them enough to see how you're doing and how you're going, and so I can let you know. But you guys won't be, like, looking at your grades. Just don't worry about that. So if I'm not saying anything to you, you're on the right track. If I need to tell you something, I'll tell you. But that also, don't be scared by that. It's just something you can improve on when I tell it to you, and then you'll be fine. Yes, don't worry. Don't worry. Be happy. Okay? So, all right, you guys. Exactly. So, we'll see you tomorrow. All right? Thanks, guys. Bye.